The lead agent stepped out first. Years of experience had taught him never to rush the first few seconds after leaving a vehicle. Those first moments tell you almost everything you need to know about the environment. The temperature, the noise, the pace of the crowd, the distance between people, the way they move, the way they look. The principal stepped out behind him, adjusting his jacket almost instinctively before looking toward the stadium. It was close now. Close enough that the upper decks filled the skyline. Close enough that you could hear the announcer inside welcoming supporters who had already made it through the gates. The lead agent made eye contact with each member of the detail. No words were necessary. The formation adjusted naturally. The advance agent was already waiting several hundred yards ahead near the credential entrance, creating a visual anchor for the movement. The opening vehicle peeled away toward the designated VIP pickup location that had been identified during the advance. If everything went according to plan, it would be waiting there after the match. If everything didn't go according to plan, there were two alternate pickup locations and one emergency extraction point beneath the stadium. The team started walking. At first, the movement felt almost effortless. The crowd was moving toward the venue, and the principal simply became part of it. Supporters were laughing. Parents were taking photographs of their children. Street musicians had found every open corner. The smell of grilled food mixed with diesel exhaust from buses still unloading spectators. For a few minutes, it almost felt like the protection detail had disappeared into the celebration. The principal leaned toward the lead agent. "You made the right call." The lead agent smiled. "So far." That answer made the principal laugh. "You guys never relax, do you?" "No, sir." It wasn't intended to be funny. It was simply true. Executive protection doesn't end because the principal is enjoying himself. If anything, those are often the moments that require the most attention. The closer they came to the outer security perimeter, the tighter the crowd became. Movement slowed. Supporters stopped to take photographs beneath tournament banners. Groups merged together. People changed direction without warning. Children wandered a few feet away from parents before being pulled back. Nothing unusual, just thousands of people sharing the same space. The lead agent noticed the first change in tempo before he actually saw it. People ahead had stopped walking. Not completely, just enough to compress the crowd behind them. He raised a hand slightly, slowing the formation. The advance agent came over the radio. "Gate 3 is backing up. Security screening is taking longer than expected." "Copy." "We've got another option?" "Gate 5 is open, but it's an additional 4-minute walk." The lead agent didn't hesitate. "Take 5. One of the advantages of conducting a proper advance is that alternatives already exist. The team adjusted direction by less than 20 degrees. To anyone watching, it looked like nothing. To the protection team, they had just abandoned an arrival plan that had been rehearsed for weeks. The principal never noticed, exactly as intended. As they approached Gate 5, the environment became structured again. Police officers controlled pedestrian flow. Private security checked credentials. Medical personnel stood beside clearly marked treatment stations. Venue staff directed supporters into organized lanes. The chaos outside became order inside. The principal entered the hospitality level, shook hands with sponsors, and disappeared into a room filled with executives, former athletes, and international clients. The lead agent finally took a slow breath. Not because the job was over, because one phase had ended. Another was beginning. He walked directly to the stadium command post. The venue security director was standing exactly where he had been 3 days earlier during the advance, except now every chair was occupied. Television screens showed live feeds from hundreds of cameras. Radio traffic filled the room continuously. Police supervisors stood beside fire commanders. EMS coordinators monitored medical calls. Traffic management updated departure routes. The security director looked over and smiled. So far, so good. So far? The lead agent never liked saying more than that. Operations have a way of changing the moment people become confident. He spent the first half watching the match only occasionally. Most of his attention remained on the monitors inside the command post. Crowd density, vehicle staging, VIP departures, medical calls, nothing significant. Exactly the way everyone wanted it. At halftime, he returned to the suite. The principal was relaxed. Clients were enjoying themselves. Business conversations flowed naturally between discussions about football. If someone had walked into the room at that moment, they would have assumed the protection team had very little to do. That assumption would have been completely wrong. The advance agent was already updating departure timings. The opening vehicle had repositioned once because another delegation had occupied part of the VIP parking compound. Traffic management had modified one outbound route. Police had advised that 2 intersections would close immediately after the match to support pedestrian movements. Small changes, none important individually, critical together. The second half passed quickly. The match reached its final minutes. Supporters stood. Phones appeared everywhere. People prepared to celebrate or mourn, depending on which jersey they were wearing. The lead agent quietly reminded the principal, "We'll leave before the majority of the crowd." The principal nodded. "No problem." That had always been the plan. Avoid the surge, beat the congestion, maintain control. The referee checked his watch. 90 minutes. Added time. The crowd counted down together. Then the whistle blew. The stadium erupted. The winning supporters exploded with joy. The losing supporters applauded anyway. People embraced strangers. Flags waved. Songs echoed through the structure. For just a few seconds, it was impossible not to smile. Then everything changed. Not inside the suite. Outside, the first radio transmission was short, almost too short. "Possible shots fired." The lead agent froze. Every protection professional knows those 3 words. Possible shots fired, not confirmed. Possible, the worst kind of information. Enough to demand action, not enough to explain it. The room continued celebrating. Nobody inside had heard the transmission. The lead agent keyed his radio. "Location." The answer came immediately. Outside the East Pedestrian Plaza. Another transmission interrupted. "Stand by. Multiple callers." The lead agent looked toward the principal, still talking with clients, still unaware. The venue security director's voice suddenly came over the stadium emergency channel. "All command staff, hold outbound movement." That changed everything. The lead agent crossed the room calmly. He leaned slightly toward the principal. "Sir." The principal turned. "We're going to stay inside for a few more minutes." He immediately noticed the expression. "What happened?" "We're verifying reports outside." The principal didn't ask another question. Experienced executives recognize experienced professionals. If the lead agent was changing the plan, there was a reason. The command post became a different place within seconds. Every monitor now focused on the East Plaza. Operators zoomed cameras. Police supervisors spoke rapidly into radios. Dispatchers answered multiple incoming calls. Nobody was shouting. Nobody was panicking. Professionals don't become louder during crises. They become quieter, more deliberate. Another transmission. Confirmed. Multiple victims. The room became still. The lead agent's mind immediately shifted, not toward the shooter, toward decisions, shelter, movement, medical, extraction. The security director looked across the room. "We're locking the building." The lead agent nodded. "Agreed." Outside, thousands of people were still trying to leave. Inside, every protected principal was now safer exactly where they were. Another update. Suspect fled northbound. Another. Police making contact. Another. SWAT responding. Information arrived in fragments, some accurate, some not, exactly as every active shooter event unfolds. The lead agent returned to the suite. Nobody had told the guests exactly what was happening, only that the venue was temporarily holding departures. The principal looked at him. "This isn't traffic." "No, sir." "Active shooter?" The lead agent paused. "We have confirmed gunfire outside." The principal nodded slowly. "What do you need from me?" That question matters. More than most people realize, great principals help the protection team. They don't create additional problems. "I need you to stay here." "You got it." No argument, no negotiation, just trust. The next 40 minutes felt much longer. Police cleared the surrounding streets. EMS established casualty collection points. The command post coordinated directly with tactical teams moving through the plaza. Eventually, the security director received the update everyone had been waiting for. Single suspect. Another pause. In custody. Nobody celebrated, because custody doesn't immediately create safety. Scenes have to be cleared. Routes verified. Crowds managed. Only then can movement begin. Nearly an hour after the final whistle, the venue security director looked toward the lead agent. "We've got you a sterile corridor." The lead agent stood immediately. The plan built during the advance came back to life. Not the primary route, the emergency one, the industrial service corridor beneath the executive suites, the one they had walked 3 days earlier. The concrete hallway most guests never knew existed, the one the advance agent had pointed at and quietly said, "If everything goes wrong, this is probably how we're leaving." Now they were. The principal walked beside the team without speaking. The corridor echoed with footsteps, concrete walls, utility pipes, dim industrial lighting, no spectators, no cameras, no confusion, just movement. At the end of the tunnel, the opening vehicle was already waiting exactly where it had been repositioned earlier in the day. Engine running. Rear door open. The principal entered. The rest of the detail loaded quickly. The convoy departed beneath the stadium, avoiding the public exits completely. Only once they reached the freeway did the principal finally speak. He looked out the window toward the lights of the stadium fading behind them. "You know," he paused, "I almost forgot you showed me that corridor yesterday." The lead agent smiled. "That's why we do advances." The principal nodded. "I understand now." Neither man said anything else for several miles. Back at the hotel, news channels were already broadcasting live. Helicopters circled overhead. Breaking news banners filled every screen. The principal watched silently for a moment before turning off the television. He looked toward the lead agent. "Thank you." 2 words, simple, sincere, worth every hour spent walking empty corridors 3 days before. Because that's the profession. The public will remember the headlines, the number of casualties, the police response, the videos posted online. The protection team will remember something else entirely. A service corridor, an alternate gate, a relocated pickup point, an opening vehicle waiting exactly where it was supposed to be. Months of planning that became invisible the moment they were needed most. People often ask what executive protection is. They imagine armored vehicles, dark suits, earpieces, close formations. But those are only tools. Executive protection is really about one thing: giving someone the opportunity to walk away from the worst day of their life without ever realizing how close they came. Until next time, stay sharp, stay prepared, and stay operational.